Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hanging Out with Howie. And we're just doing an after party recap of the virtual training night. And we started out with myself doing a quick interview with John on DMX on an iPad, running your DMX lighting on an iPad. Then we had Dan and John did testing of, I must have been almost a dozen different microphones for Zoom calls and the differences and how you would sound more professional. And then MJ came on and showed how to do MIDI mapping to make your workflow easier, where he would actually MIDI map the controller for the buttons actually on the controller to do certain things that he preferred that made it easier for him. And Ben then closed the show with gain structure, which I'm sure was helpful to a lot of people starting out or people that are having trouble with feedback issues or sound issues. So, hey guys, now MJ, you had mentioned something before we started recording that's a nice tip about the microphones in Zoom. Could you share that with the rest of the class?
Yeah, there's a lot of little tweaks that you can do to make a cheap mic sound better. I'm using currently a Movo BXR10, and it's a little boom. I'm using it as a boom mic over my head here. But there's a couple little tricks I do. One of them is with the hardware, because I run through a small USB mixer, and this is the setting in the middle. So this is what I sound like with all the settings bland in the center. And all I do is pump the low and the high up, and it gives me a little bit more bottom. And the other thing is within Zoom, there's a setting that you can do called original sound. And what it does is it bypasses Zoom's compression. And this is with original sound on. Okay, now this is with original sound off. And it's going to sound, especially if someone else talks, it's going to sound a little bit more compressed than this right here. Wait, do I have that the right way? There, that's on, and that's off. Yeah.
Yes,
it's a setting you have to dig in for. And like I said, it's really worth it once you dig in there and set it.
It is. And what you can do, folks, is a Zoom account is free to have a Zoom account, especially if you're just joining in, like here we have our panel here tonight. What you do is I have Zoom in my little taskbar, and you can open up Zoom before you even enter a meeting. In the upper right-hand corner is a little gear icon, and that's where the settings are. So you can actually frame yourself in there, make sure you know, how I'm moving my computer and my camera to, get centered. Then you can also go down and go into the sound settings that Michael was talking about, and it's all in there. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff that you can play with. I myself, I use original sound, meaning from the mic, which is coming from my mixing board. And that seems to work best for me. And depending on what you have, there's just a plethora of different things that you can actually test out on your own before you even enter a Zoom meeting. So now let's get back to the virtual training night. How about it, guys? What was your favorite, or was there a tip or something that you really enjoyed?
It's always a lot to take away. I mean, there's so much information out there, and the diverse shows, and the very educated, talented people who did the performances tonight. Thank you, MJ. Thank you, Howie, of course, and as well as Dan and Ben. There's always a tasty tidbit. There's always a nugget. There's always something you can get to help you along, whether it be with your DMX lighting or understanding and setting up your microphones for not clipping. There's just things that we know, but it's just nice to hear again. It's just nice to have the refresher course. I even went so far as after John's to go dig out my Yeti to see if I can get my soundboard working this week, but I never set up in the same place. So Just put a little something on my do list. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to get to that. So at some point in time, but it's always great to see you guys, and there's just so much great information.
It is. Bill, what was your takeaway?
I had a few. I actually have a question about yours, because perhaps I came in about a minute or two late, so perhaps I missed you saying this. But if I did,
that'll be $50 an hour, please.
Yep. I know you were using your iPad. We made that clear. But what I didn't know was, were you using Airstream Bridge or were you using something else?
No, I was using the Airstream Bridge. There are other platforms out there. For me, it's the Airstream Bridge because of the support. It's ongoing. About every 3 months, there is some sort of an update and a new feature. It's actually gotten to the point where my laptop-based software, I can do everything that does with an iPad, and I don't have to carry 4 laptops to an event.
Yeah. And I mainly, like I said, I was asking that because I might have missed it in the beginning, but if not, wanted to make sure everybody else heard that. The big takeaway from just your presentation, as kind of always with your lights, is it little nuances can go a long way. And like you were telling the story about the DJ that did the art with the lights over, with a couple of moving heads over top of the cake cutting. That was little things like that. Yeah. It was. See, that was Jay. I missed that part too. So with Jay doing that, then that makes perfect sense, because he has been at this one venue an awful lot lately this year, it seems. But yeah, I mean, little details, whether it's in your lighting or anything, if you want to make sure the venue notices those things. And my last takeaway from yours is a little bit on the comedic side. I'm sorry. But you did point out that if you want a nice tool, 10 inches works great.
Well, now, okay. I was referring to the size of the iPad, to be clear.
I'm just quoting you there. My main takeaway is a little self-deprecating from the Dan and John Zoom microphone show, and that's that I need to apologize to all of you for how horrible I sounded in my old days with using this little inline mic in my earbuds before getting my professional grade Shure microphone, or perhaps consumer grade Shure microphone.
Well, we all start somewhere.
Yeah.
I go back and look at my earlier videos, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And now Brian, he's got that beautiful USB mic. Makes him sound like the voice of God.
I don't know if it sounds that good.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you go back, like buy your record collection, get a piece of gear when you're talking, we can still hear you.
I wish I had a cool compression thing on here. That would be nice. But it works fine. It's JTS. Oh boy, it's upside down. One USB is what it is, and I literally just plugged it into the machine, and it just does what it does. I've made no adjustments on it, so
that's really impressive. That's a nice mic. Wow.
I wish it had more compression, because I like compression. Compression is my friend.
Yes, I do that too. Believe it or not, I'm talking on a 35-year-old SM58 because
it sounds great.
It won't die. Well, I'm lucky enough that I have a board that has compression, 3-band EQ.
Right.
So, yeah, it like MJ was saying, you can make even a poor quality mic sound better if you just look. We're going to have downtime here, the winter months, and why not go in and go down a rabbit hole, right? and just test things. And what the cool thing about with your Zoom account, even if you have a free one, you still get 45 minutes, but you can go in and do a session and record yourself and then listen. Okay, I don't like that setting.
Right.
And then once you close out, you can do as many 45-minute sessions as you want to dial in for those out there. And I guess the whole point of Dan and John's particular show with the different mics and the Zoom is to be professional, because let's face it, it's a new world out there now. It's tough to meet in person with clients. I mean, I only get half of them will actually even come on a Zoom meeting. Most of it's, in some sort of text.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy with all the virtual meetings and just people living virtual lives right now. They're even working virtual. I mean, this is something that kind of goes beyond what we're doing. Everyone's doing it. I was watching a show this morning, actually. They were talking about how they say so many people have quit their jobs. They want to be independent contractors. They want to work from home. And there were people who were into like animation and film and just the arts and things like that, who at one time were making like $35,000 a year as an employee of a company, who are now making like $130,000 a year as an independent contractor from home. They're doing everything on their computer. Everything's virtual. So anything you can do to improve something like your Zoom presence is a good thing. This is the world we live in right now.
It's been a godsend and a gold mine for me teaching DMX lighting on the iPad.
Yeah.
Because, I come on with a nice presence, I sound good, but then I can also switch cameras and actually show them my practice rig.
Sure.
But then I can also, airdrop my screen from my iPad and say, okay, just follow along with the cursor. Now tap here, tap here, tap here, and they follow along, and then pretty soon they go, I got it. They have that moment. And then it's like, okay, where do I send the money? And
right. Nice.
So I'm working from home, and I'm making DJ money working from home. How cool is that? So does anybody else have any final thoughts before we put a fork in this and go off camera?
Well, I didn't see the virtual training, but I will say that the coolest thing about microphones ever is compression. As far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, compression is where it's at. And the reason it's where it's at is because it's changed the way I perform. Because for years, I was trying to have the big voice and the big presence whenever I would do any kind of live performance and type of things I do, the weddings and such. Now, with compression, I can tone it down a little bit, still have a presence in the room, and be much more natural. And my energy levels improve because I'm not screaming everything. Exactly. I don't have to anymore.
Yes, I agree. And it's also good for the clients too, because let's say you're doing a ceremony, men's voices carry better. So depending on where you put the mic, and let's say the bride, well, she's going to have a female voice if it's, traditional wedding.
Right.
And the compression will bring her up and then bring the male voices down so that you can capture everything. So I agree. Compression is like, it's the bomb. It really is.
The other thing is, just tuning your system so it's not occupying that vocal frequency for the whole room so people can talk. I don't want to get too into it in your show, but I just got home today from a 4-day heavy metal rock festival with Metallica and Slipknot and all these acts, Rob Zombie, Disturbed, Mastodon, all these heavy metal bands. I was doing live sound in a booth, tent, whatever, with Evolve 30Ms, little bit of compression on my microphone, and you can see I have my voice. and I was doing 10 to 12 hour days.
Yeah.
So I wasn't screaming at anybody. Nobody was screaming at me. I didn't have to scream. I've gone to DJ Expo before for like 2 days and I can't speak when I get home.
Yeah, we call it, what do we call it? Convention voice. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a gig log I have of a wedding I did immediately after, I think it was DJ Expo. I think it was 2010. And I couldn't do the introductions for the wedding party.
Oh, I mean, man.
There was nothing in my voice. I felt so bad, but I couldn't do it. There was no one to do it. And I'm there and I was just pushing it as hard as I could. And no sound was coming out. Those days are over. Well, not at conventions. You still have that problem. But as far as gigging goes, those days are over for me. I don't have to worry about losing my voice anymore.
With the compression,
compression on the mic and just having that good sound. And not having that really harsh mid frequency in the room, occupying that vocal range. The argument I've made for using something like a column array system opposed to a horn driven, top cabinet is when you have, let's say 100 people in a room and it's a social event like a wedding reception. A lot of people haven't seen each other for a while and they want to talk. Okay.
Yes.
If they can't talk, they're going to leave the room.
Yeah.
If they want to try to compete with the mid frequency in the room, by having conversation, they're going to exhaust themselves. And just like we do on the microphone,
just like we do at convention.
Yeah. They're going to exhaust themselves and they're going to get tired and probably leave early, where if they can talk naturally and still hear good sound, they might stick around. They'll stay in the room and they may stick around for a while.
That's a good point.
Screaming is exhausting.
It is.
The older I get, the more I realize that. Maybe when I was younger, fine, I scream all day, but I can't do that anymore. So,
all right.
Thoughts?
Great tip, Brian. Thank you so much. MJ, thank you for being here. Bill, John, Brian, we will see you folks next year.
What?
Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry. Did
we get John's takeaways?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
John, would you like to repeat it for him?
Awesome. Thanks to all the DJNTV team and great show for everybody. Watch it on repeat.
Good night, folks. We'll see you next week.